We kind of wanted to have this cartoonish, old school feeling, something that you might hear in Japanese cartoons combined with Angry Birds and Hanna-Barbera and Looney Tunes, whatnot. Kind of mixture of everything put in together in this dream world.
The overall idea of the music is that when you're in a dream world, it doesn't necessarily have to sound realistic.
So everything is in the right place, everything sounds like Angry Birds, but then it's broken.
Basically, there are no limits to what can happen in a dream, and that's kind of what we try to do with the sound and the music, is that things can just spontaneously happen.
The biggest problem with linear music in games, especially mobile games, is the fact that when people have played the game enough, they tend to switch the music off because I know this song. I've been listening to this song for too many times. Now comes the boop, 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 boop part.
The way we approached the music was we wanted to do adaptive music. There's no like such a tool for doing that in the market, so we had to come up with our own system called Tapir.
Usually games are having a sort of a traditional form of music. It's usually adaptive in a way that you'll hear different music in menus and you'll hear different music in the in-game, and then there might be another music file for the boss, but it's always the same, and it gets boring when you have the same music all the time. So with the adaptive music, which is usually used in more major games and PC and console games, we thought that of course we could do this and we should do this.
So basically, the music is always changing depending on how you play, and it reacts to your way of playing.
To keep it musical and also to reflect the gameplay, the context, where you are in the game in a meaningful way.
Yeah.
A typical rock song has 3 parts, A, B, and C. And a typical rock song structure goes A, B, C, B, or something like that. What we are doing is that we are taking all those A, B's, and C's and shuffling them together. You got parts which are played in random, and within those parts there are different layers you can trigger to play or not.
So basically, we have like musical Lego pieces.
Yes.
That we can just jumble together and then let the game kind of decide how they should be pieced together, essentially.
Yeah.
When we started working on sound effects, we wanted to do something wacky and something unexpected, and therefore we used rubber ducks, we used keychains, leather bands, balloons, farts. I don't know who did it, you. And yeah, the sky was the limit, and we wanted to do all the things that we have not been able to do before.
One really important thing that we do in the Rovio audio team is to make the sounds engaging. It should feel good to play the game and hear the game. So for example, when you're pressing a button, it shouldn't only sound good, but it should also feel good when you're pressing that button, or when you're leveling up your character, or when you're purchasing something from the shop. You should feel like you're actually gaining something from that. And it's in the sound design that we try to do that and convey that information. Like Bomb's explosion, for example. It's this super comedic kind of sound where it starts with a really like simple balloon pop, and then it kind of whooshes to build that suspense, and then it just explodes, this over-the-top kind of explosion that could work in like a big franchise war game, but somehow it also fits inside the Angry Birds universe.
We used a smaller group of instruments and a smaller group of players playing those instruments in order to put the music into a more intimate sort of a state instead of just going huge.
We asked Vilppu Uusitalo to do the voiceovers for the game, and he was so talented. I mean, he was as good as those professional actors we have been working with, and I mean, he fits perfectly for the red character. I really like what he was capable of doing. Maybe the biggest challenge was to fit everything, every single collision and voiceovers together with this awesome tapir music we have. And I managed to do that by having a wide range of dynamics in the mixing process. So we have minus 12 LUFS, which means that we can hear all the tiny little clicks and pops in the game, but we also can hear the explosions pretty loud, and we can separate the sound effects from music pretty easily by having the dynamic range.
I think that I really love about the game is like the way the sound effects complement the music is that sometimes when you hear like the balls dropping, for example, and you're not sure if that's a percussion from the music or is that a sound effect. And that's like one of the examples where kind of the sound effects kind of complement what the music does and vice versa. And it's something that brings the game like to life, basically. And that's what I really like about Dream Blast and the way that we've done it is that it is very cozy and laid back in a sense, but it's still like conveying so much, and it's like letting those kind of moments of silence kind of speak for themselves. And I think that's something that also adds to this dreaminess and coziness of the game and the way it sounds is having these moments of silence in there.
You can think music as a storyteller of the mood of the game. When it adapts to the gameplay, it's not just a one piece of music, but it's changing, reacts to game events and changes. That way, it's a storyteller that's more real, it's more in tune with the mood of the game when it really changes, when something significant happens in the game.
A living organism within the engine, having a complete life of its own, you can never predict what's gonna happen, and it keeps the gameplay audially really fresh because it changes all the time and nothing is the same every time you play.
I always love listening to the game and like hearing stuff, and the system starts doing stuff that sometimes we didn't even think about because that's what the game kind of tells the system to do. And it becomes this very almost like an instrument that's playing itself and like it's having its life of its own.